Tinubu said the hunger existed before he was born and that he inherited liabilities from Buhari. It sounds like a fair defense until you go back and listen to what Tinubu himself said in his own voice just a few years ago. So today we are covering that plus Rufai's blunt response to Wike over Fubara. Let's start with Ayo because she didn't hold back.
Actually like that tweet about, census and the planning, because this is one of the issues that we have in Nigeria. Yes. We do not have that database, the census database. And this is the sort of conversations we should begin to have, even, towards the lead up to the election. We're talking about, how many voters are there? What is the actual population of Nigeria? But also the question about how do you plan for an economy? We've seen economics or even this administration talking about this $1 trillion economy as well. Your thoughts?
So,
how do we get
on that? Let me just say that I think it's important for us to hear views like this so that we can really understand the thought process, the ideology of this administration. Unfortunately, the president has not presented himself for a proper interview where we can interrogate certain things. Even before he became president, he did not submit himself for a debate to help to analyze, interrogate some of the ideas that he had for Nigeria. Even when he went to Chatham House, he wasn't able to articulate what he had planned for Nigerians. Instead, he relied on teamship, calling on members of his team to respond to questions that were on the minds of many Nigerians. So to be fair, Nigerians don't actually have a clear idea of the plans and directions of the president based on his views. But when he comes out to speak like this, then we have an idea. And what was going through my mind when he was speaking about, hunger has been there before he was born and doesn't have a control of population numbers. I thought, wow, this is it. We are in a critical situation. If the president can speak like this concerning the country, it reminds me of what one of his spokespersons said, Daniel Buhari, when he was saying that, the poor people will always be around, that's why the church has poor people, making a justification for the levels of poverty. And when you hear justifications and excuses like this from leadership, then it means that there is no plan or there is no thought as to how to get to understanding the issues and how to get Nigerians out of this terrible situation we find ourselves. Talking about numbers, I don't know how any government is able to plan without data. And so what we have is estimations and vibes. How it's feeling is almost, like how you go and check, let me see the forecast. You have no critical data to analyze and dimension the real issues. How can you talk about population control if you do not even understand the population, the rate of growth of population in Nigeria? You cannot give us that. The last administration, which the president said he inherited, had planned, had started conversations around a population census. They said we're not going to do it. They're going to leave it for the next administration to do. Since the last 3.5 years that President Tinubu has come into office, there's been no talks around population census. So we are still effectively planning in the dark. What happens with that is that it does not inspire confidence that we know where we are going as a nation, whether economically, whether planning for the most vulnerable, whether planning for poor people, whether the plans to make lives better for the poor. And that is a worrying situation. What I would suggest as I close is this. The president needs to give us numbers, data on how these policy reforms is talked about, especially the unification of the exchange rate and just final point, unification of exchange rate and the removal of fuel subsidy. To what extent these savings has contributed to more money in the pockets of the ordinary Nigerian? Actual data. Number two, jobs that have been created. What are the numbers of jobs that have been created? Not just estimations, not just vibes, but how many jobs have been created by this administration? Right. Just simple things like that, and not give excuses that any leader should not be making to his people.
Our point is simple. Before Tinubu became president, he avoided the debates where Nigerians could have pressed him directly on his plans. Now, years later, she says Nigerians still don't have a clear picture of his actual vision, and when he said he can't control population growth and hunger, she asked something very direct. Does he even know Nigerians' actual population, growth rates, birth rates, or death rates? Because according to her, this government keeps giving what she called silly justification excuses. Now, Dr. Abati even went further.
It's unfortunate when the president says, hunger has been existent even before he was born. Now, that, rubbishes this commitment, even by his own government, to agriculture as a primary responsibility and a primary target of government. Every government in Nigeria has always said agriculture, should be major focus to create jobs and to make sure that no child goes to bed hungry in Nigeria. It's like the president saying agriculture is not important. If people want to go to bed hungry, they can go to bed hungry because it's a fact of life, which has been there since he was born or before he was born. The second thing is planning without data. Planning without data is one of the major challenges in the development process. The international rule is that population census should be conducted every 10 years. The last time Nigeria conducted population census was 2006, 20 years ago. But over the years, we've been budgeting for the National Population Commission. They will say they are doing birth and death registration census. At the end of the day, every government will say, we are planning for census. Money will be budgeted. Nothing will happen at the end of the day. So we're just planning in the dark.
Right.
And that, does not show that we're committed to the development process.
Okay, my comment on this matter is, let the poor breathe. Don't suffocate them.
That is the president's statement, Rufai. It's not your statement. Did you borrow it? Where did you borrow it from? Well, all right.
He dismissed the hunger existed before I was born line entirely, saying it shows a government that has lost direction. His bigger point was about data because Nigeria's last full population census was about 20 years ago, and every year money gets budgeted for a new one and yet nothing happens. So according to Dr. Abati, Trying to govern without that data is like planning in complete darkness. You don't know how many people you are feeding, housing, or creating jobs for. Now, here's where it gets interesting, because Tinubu himself once had something to say about statistics, and it is worth going back to hear it.
The other one, that one, I think now statistic we go chop. A line with arithmetic that never, no Indian can solve it. To mention his name is a disgrace to myself.
That was November 2022, campaigning in Delta State. He said that directly at Peter Obi, who was constantly using economic data and statistics during the campaign. Tinubu's argument then was that practical action mattered more than numbers. All I want is to put food on the table. Now, fast forward to 2026, because I want you to think about that for a second. If statistics didn't matter to him then, how is he now blaming a lack of population data for why hunger and population growth can't be controlled? Because honestly, you can't dismiss statistics as irrelevant one day and then use missing statistics as your excuse a few years later. Either data matters or it doesn't. You can't have it both ways. Now, let's talk about the second part of his defense, that he inherited liabilities from Buhari. On its own, that's not an unusual thing for any incoming president to say, but Tinubu himself has already told us how he sees his relationship with Buhari administration.
I didn't have to look back, because the truth is, I took over for myself. The late Buhari is me. He was a partner. And if I took over from him, is that not for myself? So, if something is wrong, fine. Live with it, correct it, move on. The life voyage is not going to be easy. And so many of you that are traveling with me, I can only stand before you and say you will not regret it.
That was Tinubu hosting the Renewed Hope ambassador saying, and I want to hear this exactly. The truth is, I took over for myself. The late Buhari is me. He was a partner and I took over from him. So here's the question: if he and Buhari share the same agenda, if he describes Buhari as basically being him, then when he says inherited liabilities, doesn't that mean he inherited them from an administration he openly identified himself with? Because you can't call yourself a continuation of a government and then turn around and distance yourself from that same government's failures. That's not inheriting a problem, that's just admitting your own record. I want your honest take. Do you think Tinubu is being fairly criticized here, or do you think Ayo and Abati are being too harsh on a president dealing with problems that existed long before him? Drop your answer in the comments. Now let's shift to Wike and his recent remarks about Fubara.
I don't know what to be my sin. I don't know what to be my sin. If a man would you not try to look good for him, like you must follow this chart, I don't follow that chart. Yeah, of course you make mistakes. And what's important that you realize that you have made a mistake and you correct it. That's what's important. So it's only like it's only God that forgives sin. In politics, there's no sin. Just for you to realize that, look, I don't think I am taking the right step.
You heard that. Now, yes, how Rufai responded.
Fubara is a simple man. It's a good man. It's a simple man.
Peaceful.
It's a very peaceful man. It's just that till today we don't know what happened to the River State House of Assembly that went up in fire. I think they're building that one again. So he's a very simple man. How will Wike not be happy? Because he had easy political adversaries in Fubara. The reason why people like me defended Nyesom Fubara then is because, and I quote, the likes of Nyesom Wike fought against political godfatherism. That's why people like me still defended Governor earlier, when that political godfatherism was rearing its ugly head against Akume. And I will always defend people that try to stand against political godfatherism, because we have seen where it has left this country. There are some states today in this country that some people are controlling their purse because of political godfatherism. Those states will never be able to break free. And Nyesom Wike, he fought it that time. He fought against it. We know the battles he fought against his predecessor then. And we supported him. Even we were not on our rise then, on other local platforms where we were on radio, and we supported him then. Because it is not a good one for democracy. So now that he has asserted himself as a political godfather, how will he not say Sim has committed no sin? Can you say Sim has committed no sin when they were having agreements?
Agreement is
agreement, yo. He don't reach it for settlement. You can't determine. If you go follow Tinubu, no follow corner. Similar, they tell you something. It's not. I don't blame Mr. Wike. It's Mr. Similar. I blame.
All right.
That couldn't stand this ground. What was the worst they would do? Impeach you? Is that the end of the world?
All right.
Are you the first governor they were going to impeach?
But now he's not impeached and he's in the camp and he's still in politics.
But what is happening to him is worse than impeachment. He's Bewudani. You know when you are there, you are a lame dog. You can't do anything. You are powerless. You are pressing your remote control from Abuja. It's worse than being alive. There's no point of living if you can't feel alive. See, he's in that position today, where you are a governor, you are powerless. You depend on whatever Wike says. He's the one controlling you. He's got all the political architecture. Now, what are they doing in Rivers State? They are doing collabo. Almost all the political parties. No APC, PDP. They are doing collabo. And they are happy and they are calling that democracy. It's a shame to democracy.
All right.
People that will be speaking against godfatherism.
You want to say something,
Okay, we
Dr.
commented on this before, but now that the Godfather has spoken, I think that we do not need any longer, addition. Nyesom Wike, the Godfather of Rivers State politics, has now spoken to say that Fubara has done what is good for him. He has returned to the political family, the Rainbow Coalition, and he is welcome. Now, there's a book by Otumba J.K. Randall, Bashorun J.K. Randall. Well, they keep changing this title. So sometimes it's Otumba, sometimes it's Bashorun. Title, The Godfather Never Sleeps. What Nyesom Wike is to have just has done is just to confirm that political metaphor that the Godfather does not yield political control, especially in Nigerian politics. We may complain forever that we don't want godfatherism, but we've just been reminded again now that godfatherism remains very potent.
All right.
I repeat the point I made before. That Nyesom Wike has also proven that he's a good judge of human character, particularly when it comes to political control.
Okay.
He said he was the one that made the Fubara government.
Yes.
That he bought the form.
Yes.
He campaigned on his behalf.
Yes.
He handed him over to the people of Rivers State. Could he have been governor without Nyesom Wike? So he gave him a boy appointment. And he has reminded him that
Boy
he
means
remains
what?
a boy to Nyesom Wike. This is the unfortunate reality that the people of Rivers State are facing.
See, I'm not gonna lie, Rufai's point is hard to ignore. The same Wike who once celebrated for standing against godfatherism in Nigerian politics is now, according to Rufai, showing that the same godfatherism never actually left. He said it is unfortunate because Wike's actions suggest he is the one now deciding who stays and who goes, deciding, in his words, who gets to do and undo. The man they supported in the fight against godfatherism has now become an example of it. Same question for this one. Do you think Rufai is right about Wike, or is this just normal political positioning that everyone in this game eventually does? Let me know below. So that is the full picture today. Tinubu's own past statement on statistics and on Buhari now sitting directly against his current defense, and Wike, once celebrated for fighting godfatherism, now facing the same accusation from Rufai. No bias, just the facts, the clips, and the contradictions laid out plainly. If this helped you see it clearly, make sure you subscribe today, turn on notifications so you don't miss my next video, because I do this daily. I want to always keep you updated, so don't forget to like this video and share it with someone.